saying Mike Raglan. Are you shorting it up, Rags? Maybe because you dress, you know what I'm saying, you dress cool or whatever. But they be like, hell no. And even when I rant, like I've heard people like jokingly say, "No, you a know it all." Like I don't know a lot of shit. The more that I go and seek knowledge, the more I realize it's a lot of shit I don't know. I know you hating that I'm up. Always 1,000 Michaels everywhere, so just always be able to go Mike Rags, you know, just stuck. That's how I came up with the Rags. My price is gone. You know what time it is, yeah. You know what time it is. It's your boy Rags. I'm here with some special guests. First off, welcome back. It's been a while since you all have seen me. And while I was gone, I took some surveys, and people told me I needed to have more women on the show. I needed to talk about things that were affecting our community a little more. So I said I'm gonna make sure I do an emphasis on that. And this first episode is a good one. I have a lifelong friend here, and then I have another one of her friends who are both are in the mental health professions. And I'm gonna let you all talk a little bit more about what it is exactly that you do in the mental health field, because I know it's a wide field. Yeah. I know that it entails a lot. So what exactly do you do, Toy?
All right, so
and tell them who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Gotcha. So I go by Tori Greenhill. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Alabama. I own a counseling agency, Restoring Hopes. One thing that we do a little bit different. So a lot of people, when they think about mental health, they think about, office, couch, laying on the couch, and just talking. So one thing that my company really does different is we get out in the community a little bit. So we go into the schools. We really look at a community approach. So we're helping kids get into psychiatrists. We're helping kids establish IEPs, making sure that the schools are following those IEPs. But we also do traditional counseling too. So I have clients that come into the office and we do some traditional counseling. So really, we kind of do a wide range of stuff. We see a wide range of issues, from depression to trauma to substance abuse.
Well, can I ask a question? Because I'm ignorant. I'm ignorant.
Sure.
What is an IEP? What is?
Okay, so an IEP is called an individualized education plan. So that's going to be for kids that really can't learn the traditional way. So they may need extra time on tests because they have ADHD. They may need to go into a separate room because they have ADHD and can't concentrate. For some kids, if they make a 50 or below, they're able to retake their test. So that's essentially what it is. It's just individualized to the kid.
Okay. And so what made you want to start your own, or how did you even get into the thing, like, I want to start my own business?
Yeah. Honestly, so I was working for a nonprofit for about 5 years, and it was just so much politics tied to it. And I just really didn't like how us African Americans were kind of being treated in that role. So I had a friend that we worked together, and we were just kind of chatting it up one day like me and you do, and we both was like, we can fix this. Like, we can fix these gaps and feel the need. And that's what we did since 2015. We've been going hard.
Okay, congratulations. That's a nice long time, for real, man. Congratulations on that. And Andrea, is it Andrea? Andrea, I'm sorry, Andrea. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
My name is Andrea Early. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I am a staff therapist at a university. I also, on the military side, I run a suicide prevention program.
So with the suicide, you say with just military, or do you just focus with people who have served, been overseas, or just anybody related to the military?
On the military side, so with the military, that's kind of the role that I'm playing.
Oh, okay. So strictly for the military. Right. So what is that like working? Because I know that's one thing that's been buzzing a lot lately too, is and not just buzzing, but has been growing a lot, is suicide, especially in our community. So they had, like, I guess, kind of like talked about, like, what's that like, and what does that feel like to be someone who's not going through that but having to try to help people who are going through that? Like, how does that affect you?
Well, I got into therapy because I wanted to help people of color, but also I enjoy working with veterans. I did my internship at the VA. I've worked in private practice. I've worked with substance abuse treatment. I worked with low-functioning schizophrenics. I've worked with all the gamut. So I've done child protection. I've worked with children with disabilities. But the population that I generally love working with is Black women, and I also love working with veterans. And if I can do all of that in one, that would be great. But, you know, I'm just doing multiple things at this time.
She good at it too, bruh. She got all kind of awards from
Oh, for
her
real?
suicide
Talk
prevention
about
thing.
this. Yeah, like talk about that though. Like,
So I did some active duty time up at Fort Eustis, and I was working for training and doctrine. So that is the part of the Army that does the education. So, you know, when people say they go to basic, that is a part of the Army that runs basic. So really trying to focus on getting behavioral health down to the lower levels so that the soldiers can get the help that they need that doesn't take up all the resources of the post. So behavioral health obviously is a big thing in a sense of military, but also all over, but particularly because, you know, these people have access to weapons, they protect the country. People want to make sure that they're where they need to be and they're getting the needs met.
Right. Yeah, because that's, I know often we talk about, like when we talk about gang violence, we talk about how Black people in the community face traumas from living, well, not going to put quotes in there, face trauma from having to witness things that are done, but just imagine being a soldier and like that's what you really do. I have a friend that went to the Army and I haven't really talked to him like since he's been back. He's been real distant, like, and we used to be really good friends growing up, and he's in Huntsville now, but like it just, when he came back, he was just so much, he was never just super outgoing, but he's been so much more like closed in, and it's hard to even just really get in touch with him. But I mean, from what I see, he's still doing all right, but it kind of worries me sometimes because I like, what are they seeing? Like, what's really going on over there that have them so, you know, messed up in the head? And I guess I've never gone to a mental health professional to see if there was anything wrong with me. But so as far as I know, I'm like perfectly normal, and I think it's hard for me to fathom.
What is normal, bruh?
Okay. Well, I guess okay. Let's go on, dive in. So I believe that mental health, like any other health and wellness, like we said earlier, is there are a lot of different factors that go into it. People can be unhealthy because of an ailment that is something they can't control. And then people can be unhealthy because they're just lazy, lack of discipline. Things might have happened to them, but it should have been. And I don't even know if I want to say it's things that they should have been able to conquer, but, you know, things that you should be able to do if you are I don't know what other word to use instead of
Would
normal.
you like us to jump in?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I guess the thing is, trauma is defined by something that you experience that alters your life, right? So it could be a car accident. So I think a lot of times people think trauma has to be a specific kind of trauma. It's anything that you find traumatic to you. So I've seen people who find like, oh, my parents got divorced. That was so dramatic for me. But for other people, they're like, okay, and?
So okay. So I guess my question is in that regard, because that's a good example. In that regard, can I say the same situation happening to me not affecting me as much? Does that make them, the other person, not mentally healthy because it affected them more? That situation, like you said, the parents getting divorced, does that mean that I'm mentally healthy because it didn't affect me a certain way and they aren't? Or am I mentally unhealthy because I didn't let it affect me a certain way?
I think it depends on your threshold of tolerance and as well as your ability to cope with stressors.
So it's so much that goes into mental health that I don't understand. Yeah. I guess I want to make it so simple because it's such a lot of people, I think, and I don't want to disrespect people, but a lot of people are now using mental health as an excuse, I believe, for why they can't, why they aren't. So I want to know, I guess I want it to be broken down to a way that I can understand and other people can understand, like, what mental health can look like, and what are things that we can do even if we aren't unhealthy. I mean, if we aren't healthy, that can help us though. You know what I'm saying, in a at home kind of way, even if we're not getting the professional help.
So, one thing is looking at emotional regulation, right? And so this kind of, I know we talked about the Antonio Brown situation, right? And I remember on Facebook seeing all the people that was like, oh my God, is something wrong with him? It became a mental health issue.
Right.
Turns out it was an actual like physical ailment. But emotional regulation and emotional intelligence is important. So being able to really dig deep, even seeing somebody to really hone in on intense, extreme emotions. Just because you can doesn't mean that you can't learn to handle your emotions better. Have you ever got like really upset and you turn around and be like, why did I get so upset about it?
When I'm driving, I do that. I probably have like, I real deal cuss somebody out in the car, like, and not even be like, damn, why did it make me so
right. So
real.
in that sense, I would say, hey, Mike, like, you could benefit from, seeing somebody to help you hone in on those intense emotions that you're having while driving. Where does that come from?
Well, yeah, okay. I know the difference between, like, I do that in the privacy of my own car. You see what I'm saying? Like, I am mentally, I know the difference between doing things or acting out in public versus acting out in private, or doing things in the comfort of my own, or when I'm representing someone else. Like, there is a difference. Like, I don't believe. So you don't believe there's a difference?
If you got upset with somebody in your home and cussed them out, went on this rant, you don't feel like that's the same?
I don't, because I feel like there's a.
This is one of those, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around, you hear it? Like...
So I believe that having if there are some people who can't have, like, literally, like, really can't have control over, like, what goes on in their head. Like, I've known people who, like, really had to take medicine or something to, like, regulate chemical imbalances. Like, it gets scientific.
Yeah.
And then now I think there are some kids, like, if you beat I
thought we could cuss on that.
but I don't want to sound like if you abuse them, but if you give your child a whooping, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got whooped a lot. I never felt like I was abused, and I think those whoopings saved me. Like, I had a white teacher one time. My parents thought they were being racist, but thought that I might need to get tested for ADHD. I never did, because my parents were like old fashioned, like we just beat it out of them. So I'm not gonna say they beat it out of me, but I'm saying them discipline, like them giving me extra structure, keeping me hella busy. My parents kept me in school activities, Boy Scouts, choir, stepping, boys. Like, they just kept me so active too. So I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want people to get to the point where we feel like everything is mental health to where we can't regulate it, or ourselves to the point where you can't regulate yourself. Not me trying to regulate you, because like you said, and like you just brought up a good point, Andrea, that just because this trauma happens to, or this situation happens to the both of us, the way you react doesn't mean that it makes you less of a person, or the way I make doesn't make me better than you. But for some reason, it triggered you. But can you still, even if it triggers you, regulate yourself? And I guess that's what I want to get to, like the regulating of, like, people who really can't regulate themselves versus people who can really regulate themselves. Have you seen any examples of?
Well, I guess the better question is, I think we learn a lot of our emotional regulation from upbringing. So do your parents get angry? Like, how do they respond? We tend to be how they respond. And so a lot of times, I think I had to unlearn a lot of things, and so that's something that also therapy can teach you. So if your response to things is, I spilled this, I'm angry with myself, sometimes that is also related to, like, if my mom was here, she would have yelled at me for spilling this.
So I'm going to yell at myself, or I'm going to be mad at myself. Okay. See, so therapy isn't just to help people who are, because I know a lot of people think of therapy and it's like, oh, I need to be really, not crazy, but have a real problem in order to have like, or some situation happened to me. So now I need to go to therapy. Instead of like just using therapy as like a trainer that you go to and get your workout every week. That's kind of like what you're saying therapy is.
It could be a checkup.
Okay,
It could be a checkup.
Because I've always said, but I tell people all the time, I've never gone to a therapist, but I have a friend who is, and everybody like, who? So this is the friend. This is the person I'm always talking about that kind of helps me. Because I know so many people that I've talked to or dated think that I have things that I need to get checked out when it comes to dating, because
Do tell.
Michael, not the person trying to get intimate with somebody, is an open book. I'm on Instagram, social media. I tell you, I don't care, because I don't care what you think. You don't know me. I don't like letting people in too much. I know it's the trust thing. I don't think it's necessarily a girl thing though. You see what I'm saying? I try to explain to them like intimacy with me is just a closeness. It's not necessarily sexual. Like it's just a closeness that you have. Like I'm intimate with my friends, not on no sexual shit, but like we share things with each other that I wouldn't share with nobody else. I tell them things. That's intimacy. I can only be there with you if I really trust you. I don't know how to trust people. I don't know what to do to I don't know what to do to get over that. Like
When I say vulnerability, what comes up for you?
Ooh. Having to put my emotions, my trust in someone else, like out of my control and someone else's control. That's what makes me think of. Is that you straight, man?
He's dying. Don't throw that mask on.
I'm so weak.
Okay, back to it.
Oh yeah, let's focus. Let's get it back.
So when I think about vulnerability, you have to give a little something to get a little something, right? So you don't want to give something, but you're expecting to receive. Make that make sense.
I guess this is the other part of it. I'm very nonchalant when it comes to dating. So if you are pressing to want to give me something, and I'm not trying to really give you that because I could care less if you give that to me because I'm not trying to give that to you. That's kind of where I am. Like a lot of women be like, oh, you so nonchalant, you don't care about nothing. I do, it's just I don't.
Well, what are you trying to get out of dating?
Because
the short answer, I mean, I guess not trying to sound too bad, but I mean, like,
No judgment.
okay. I mean, of course, sex, that's definitely like, I mean, I like.
But sex can also be a vulnerability.
And I've heard that too, but I don't, and I can have sex with you and not be vulnerable with you because I don't have to give up anything close to me other than my body. My body is.
It's for the streets. Is this
No.
Oh Lord!
I don't want it to sound like that. What I'm saying is, if I'm not sure of you, I can wrap it up. You see what I'm saying? That's simple. If I'm not sure of you, I don't know if I could just like how do I give myself to you, like this part of me to you if I'm not sure with you. You see what I'm saying? I could just wrap it up and be like, oh well, I don't know if she was the one, but and then to me it's sex is not just about creating that intimacy. I know a lot of people try to use sex to build on the intimacy, which it can. But I would rather be intimate, and I try to tell them that this too. Like my intimacy, like I told y'all, it's like just let me feel like when I need to, I can lean on you. You know what I'm saying? You can lean on me. We can lean on each other, and we know it ain't we never gonna fall. Like that's all I need. That's all I need. And most women out here really looking for romance novels and what's the one my mama and them be reading? Some Summers or some it's Walters. Is it somebody that got one of them little romance novel books series? That's what a lot of women want when I talk to them, the ones that I talk to. So maybe it might be me. maybe it's something about me that draws me to the same type of women who I always end up kind of clashing with on this. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, you might like unavailable women because you're not trying to give anything.
I think my favorite my favorite girl right now is a girl that's in a relationship that don't live here. I swear to God. That's my favorite girl.
There it is then.
But not because I never want that though. I'm old school. Like I do want that. Like I'm not the type of guy like if I were a rapper, I would be a Drake ass nigga. Like I would be like Lover Boy. Like that would be. I wouldn't be out here trying to talk bad about bitches all the time. Nah, I'm not that type of dude. Like I'm the, come and see me for once. That's the vibe I'm trying to give you. So it's like it's not that I don't want that. I just.
It requires a lot of effort.
And I don't want, and that's what it is. And I don't want to. And I
want
think
an effortless relationship.
Shouldn't it feel like that though? Like am I wrong for me feeling? So it's
like how much time we got?
So am I crazy? We still got 40 minutes. Am I crazy? I can't be crazy for feeling like that. Cause shouldn't it feel like the most in my mind? And like I said, my mind might not be right, but in my mind, I feel like you should almost slip into it. You know what I'm saying? Like once you get anything, in order to maintain it, you have to put work in to maintain it. But I'm saying, as far as like to me, it's getting me there. It's not once I get there, I'm gonna be all in. Maybe I am scared. Maybe my exes did run that. Maybe it is really, I don't know. I feel like if you can get me there,
because I know too much.
I don't know. I don't know what it is about me.
If you're putting your time and energy and lack of effort into a girl that is unavailable, how are you going to know when the girl that you want to put effort comes in? Because you're not you looking for an effortless relationship, and that
don't really work.
That doesn't exist.
Also, dealing with someone who's not always available, that means you're not obligated to anything.
Right. I like that.
Commitment.
Also, it is a commitment. Is there such thing as commitment anxiety for real?
Yes.
Like, and can the anxiety really be just like a nervousness in your stomach? Like it just makes you kind of sick to your stomach sometimes, like queasy. Like you for no reason at all, like other than thinking about that person too hard, make you sick to your stomach for real. Not in no bad way, because you love them.
Yeah,
I've had that happen to me before with an ex. Like after I knew it was like we should have like let it go, I would really kind of sometimes just think about it, like get sick to my stomach. Like I could feel like just shit was off. You know what I'm saying?
And you're also probably avoiding that feeling again. You don't want to feel that.
Who wants
again.
to feel like
you
that?
You don't want to go through the pain and the heartache again.
Right.
So,
who wants to feel like that?
But love is a risk.
And you got through it that first time. You've grown since then. And maybe therapy can give you some more tools to deal with it when it happens.
Or process.
Or if it happens.
Yeah, or process what did happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's all. Because I think once I figure out what happened, I think I'd be all right with the rest of it. Because I don't have any in my mind, and like I said, it just might be because I blocked it out. But I don't have any ill will toward either one of my, like, I've only been in really like 2 real relationships, and I'm 31, so that tells you a lot. Like I don't even really put myself out there to really be in real relationships. I do a lot of dating, but I don't do a lot of we are like come meet my parents type. I've only 2 or 3 women have ever met my parents. Like that's like. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any ill will with them women though. Like I'm still in my mind, I'm still cool with them. Like if I were to see them right now in the street, like I wouldn't feel no type of way. Like we follow each other on Instagram. Yeah, they ain't my close friends. I mean, they close friends. Like it don't matter. Like I feel like it don't.
Well, I mean, it has nothing to do with that. The question is, do you know how it ended and why?
The first one, yes. First one, she definitely cheated on me, and I had to end it. Even though I told her when we first got together that she could do it. I was so in love with her. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, and I would never leave her. And she cheated on me.
So when she did it, left.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to process that.
Because when you're young, I was 18.
Okay.
She was older than me. She was already at Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And
Red
I
flag.
wanted her so bad, and like I was just so madly in love with the thought of being with her, and just wanted to be with her so bad. I told her a lot of crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? I might have meant it when I said it, but once I felt the hurt after she told me, it's like, you expect me to really take you back after I said that? I was just lying. That's kind of how it went. Now the second one, I really don't even. That one was.
How much time between that first one and that second one?
3 years.
And you've been single how long?
5 years now. Yeah. So it's been 20, no, longer than that. Shit. We broke up like 2016, late 2015, early 2015. Shit. It's almost 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. Yeah, it's crazy.
We should talk. Holler at me later. I don't want to throw off your segment. What else you got for us? We could go deep, but I don't think you ready to go deep with me like that. You know what I'm saying?
We don't want to put you in no awkward situations.
What you mean?
These is for the people.
But this is an uncensored show. This is uncensored. We can go there for a second. We got a little time.
You got to look. Oh, this take a little more than a little time. That's why we have sessions, and that's why there's so.
I might need to talk to somebody though. I might need
Just a little
to.
bit.
I don't know. I just feel like
I do think there is a stigma still around mental health, especially in the African American community. And to be honest, a lot of things that we dealt with growing up, like we were around the same age. Things, back then was you don't talk about
What's bothering you.
Yeah, you don't talk about what's bothering you. Definitely don't talk about it to nobody else. So part of trying to unlearn that, being able to just unpack a lot of the things that has happened, and also the fear of, I've seen it where, people will come into my office and they'll realize that, oh my God, like maybe mom played a role or maybe dad played a role, and just having that guilt, like having the guilt of realizing that I have to unlearn things because maybe the environment that I was in at home was toxic. And that doesn't speak to who your parents are, whether you love your parents or not. It just means that, hey, I'm acknowledging that some of the things my parents may have taught me weren't good for me mentally.
Right.
So you internalize that stuff, and it affects relationships. It affects friendships. It affects how you deal with things. So, yeah.
And sometimes it affects people's faith because oftentimes people go to their parents and they'll tell you to pray about it. So now that even affects your relationship with God because you're like, well, okay, I've prayed about it, but this is not
It's
it.
still bothering me.
Right.
Things aren't getting better.
Yeah. And I think that kind of can go into a deeper segue too about like religion versus, because like you said, everything, my mama would always be like, oh, talk to the pastor, but he's not necessarily a
I don't trust that.
licensed therapist.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean he's just because he gives the word well on Sunday and is a great preacher doesn't mean that he can really help me with right. And I think a lot of parents either like you said, either just go pray about it or go read the Bible, what the Bible say. What the Bible say about this. Or like go talk to the pastor. And I don't know, I was never encouraged to, like I said, my parents aren't really for diagnosing me, like being diagnosed with something would have been, like if they would have diagnosed me with ADHD, it would have been a problem. Maybe because they felt of how they would have treated me, because maybe schools do things to black kids who are diagnosed with hyperactive disorders. They treat them a little differently. I've heard from people I know in the school systems. As far as like kicking them out, taking them to alternative schools for the smallest, like just things of that nature. So maybe they were just trying to protect me, or maybe they were just like, even if something wrong with you, like I said, they just gonna beat it out of me.
I got a lot of it.
I got a lot of whoopings when I growing up, and I don't think it was traumatizing or it was abuse. But maybe if I told somebody else, they might look at it as like, oh, you were abused when you were young. And I'm like, can you tell me I was abused if I don't think it was abuse?
Well, I mean,
is that a thing? Have you ever? Okay, let me ask it like this: have you ever come across a client as you were diagnosing them with something? They were like, "Nah, that's not my problem," but you knew it was their problem.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that? People, because like Antonio Brown, we'll go back to Antonio Brown. His lawyers came out and said it wasn't a mental health thing, even though all these people were saying he might be suffering from CTE early. Yeah, I remember that he took in the head and all that. But him and his lawyer came out with a statement that said it has nothing to do with mental health. It was about his foot hurting and not wanting to play and being forced to feel like he was being forced to play. So that's why I was like, a lot of people were trying to cape for him saying mental health. And even he said it wasn't mental health. But maybe it is mental health. And he just doesn't want to really accept that. You see what I'm saying?
Well, when anything happens, with a celebrity, you have all kind of Facebook professionals come out, and say, now, yes, physical pain can mess with, mental health. It's very possible that the physical pain got so much and, that triggered that whole thing.
Stressor.
Yeah, that could have been the trigger for him. Can I say that it was or not? No, because I haven't sat down and talked to Antonio Brown.
That's okay. Yes, I guess so. It's a lot of speculation, I guess, when it comes to like the social media and when they deem someone is unmental or not mental. What do you say? Is it unmentally?
I guess my thing is
unhealthy?
They didn't indicate it was an issue until that moment. They didn't indicate there were any ongoing issues.
Right.
So I think a lot of times people kind of throw that out there when they want to brush something under the rug or they want to dismiss something because if you read his statements and what was being said, he's been having issues with his ankle since week 6. Yeah. So going back and forth with doctors, with the coaches, with different people telling, this is my problem, people denying that that's the problem, denying this, denying that. He said someone telling him that his pain wasn't real was his trigger.
So is he acknowledging that means that's why he snapped? Or that's? I
think his statement was really saying.
Really acknowledged why he did it, unless you read something.
I read in his statement. The guy told him to get out there and play. He said he was too hurt to play. He felt like, what's wrong with me. He kept asking him, what's wrong with you? So it's like this back and forth of you are invalidating what I'm telling you.
Well, and
so being fed up, sometimes people, like you said, there's things that could be done with tact, and some things are like, you know what? I'm going to show you how done I am. So since he said, I'm done, so he already was saying he was cut on the sideline. Right. So he's like, if I'm already cut, I might as well act the ass, right?
The coach cut him. He said, I didn't walk away. The coach cut me. Right. So then he left.
So that's why. So we can say maybe he does have a mental health issue, but back to, like I said, we were talking about earlier, being able to regulate yourself. Do you think? I think he's of sane enough mind, sound enough, mind to say, you know what, I shouldn't do this. Or if he thought about doing it, he forethought, like, let me go and act an ass and make a statement. I don't think it was something like he just blurted out because something happened, clicked in his mind, and he just couldn't help himself. Like, he's not the Hulk. I don't think he had a Hulk. You see what I'm saying? Like the Hulk.
I feel like he just had an emotional reaction to an already emotional situation.
So,
go ahead.
So, and I'm not telling you to judge him or anything, but I'm saying, so if you were on the witness stand and he was in trial and they said, was he responsible for his actions that occurred after the meltdown, you would say he was, yay or nay? Okay, so he was responsible for his action. In your opinion, you don't know.
We all have choices. He could have went out on the field hurt. He could have sat down for the rest of the game, but he chose to, react the way he chose to react.
Okay, and see, that's like, and like the point you brought up, Andre, is that a lot of people are trying to use mental health to just say, oh well, I lost it. Like, well, if I'm in, like you said, when I was talking earlier, I'm in the car and I cut somebody out, I'm looking at myself like, damn, like, why I do that? Like, I'm at least know, okay, I did it, and it might have been a lack of control for a minute, but that was me losing control, not not being able to, like something really causing me to do it. It was me, like a lack of discipline.
And even further than that, do you know how to calm yourself down and bring you back to zero?
Oh yeah.
Some people don't have that type of intelligence. Some people don't have the intelligence to be able to go from 0 to 100 and go back. Like some people stay at 100, and that's when problems arise. That's when people follow people and shoot them.
Right. Okay. Road rage. So, is it you all's opinion that everybody should see a therapist, regardless, no matter how healthy they are? Like I think,
it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Because therapists really are just here to tell you what you could, let you talk to them. They're just gonna let you talk to them.
And I ain't gonna tell you nothing.
So y'all job is to really sit there and listen to people vent and rant like I do on my show. Y'all just sit there and listen to people rant, and then
we also provide tools. We provide.
No, what I'm saying. Then take what they say though, and just say, okay, based off what you just spilled to me, this is what I think you should do. These are some things that can help. These are some triggers you can avoid. These are some, like, do y'all tell folks, hey, if you see this person and you feel this type of way, count to 10. Like y'all do things like give people like mental, I guess, exercises to do.
I would say coping skills, a different perspective, because we are. I guess if you're having an issue with someone else, we're, not involved in that. So we are an impartial party that can have that conversation about, okay, what are you feeling? Because I think a lot of times people they don't know their thoughts from their feelings, right? They will tell you what they think, but they wouldn't tell you how they felt about it.
That's real as hell.
Or they can tell you how they felt, but don't know why the thought behind it. Yeah,
it's making those connections.
Yeah.
For them.
Okay.
Which is really important.
Yeah, because I never even really, in my mind, I guess I've always thought they were one and the same. Like I've always felt like I've had control. I've had pretty much enough control over my feelings because my mind was doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that not how it works? But
I guess it depends on the situation. So did the thought come first and then the feeling? Did the action come first and then you felt something and reacted? Like, it depends on
how it happened.
What happened.
Okay. I usually try to think of myself as let's sit and think about it first. I try not to make too many decisions based off how I'm feeling, because I know that's why I don't just fall in love.
That ain't why.
That is right. Because I'm thinking first. That's what you said you should do. You should think first and then feel. So I try to go
avoiding feeling. But that's neither here nor there.
That's true. That's true.
It's the avoidance. But yeah. So those things are important. The thought feeling connection is very important. I do a lot of that in my practice.
Okay, and I wanted to get more into the adolescents, because I think a lot of the unhealthy mental wellness for a lot of us comes from, like I said, adolescence, how we were raised, the environment, and not being equipped. Because like y'all are a piece of equipment, but I'm saying you are you all are like an important tool. Y'all are important to the mental health.
Just run it back one more time.
I feel like you all are necessary.
Thank you.
There you go.
We'll take that.
You all are necessary and parents too, though. Like bringing people like you who want to help their kids, and not look at you all as people who trying to stigmatize them or help demonize them. Away. Yeah, or do that as well. Because I know a lot of people feel that way too, about like they'll wait till this. I did a little stint at not stint, but I worked at Hillcrest for a little while. So I got to work with, kids who I guess most of them had mental, like really had to see a therapist every day, take medicine every day in order for them to be able to stay within a certain level. And just being able to get that there, they still didn't get what they need, what that's what the nurses and other people would say. Like they still aren't getting what they need.
The tools.
Right, yeah. So like what parents need to look for or think about doing for kids, even if they don't suspect that something is wrong. I don't have any kids, but I know a lot of my homeboys do, young girls, young boys, and I want them to kind of be like, what are some things signs they can look for? Y'all have anything like that for parents?
Changes in behavior. I know that a lot of times people will say they'll be more recluse or more withdrawn. Yeah, so a lot of times changes in behaviors, changes in sleep patterns, eating patterns, things like that. So how tuned in on how they're functioning.
Grades are usually a pretty good indicator. Like if you have a student that usually does pretty well and then those grades start to slip, those are also signs. Trying to talk with the counselor so that the counselor can keep an eye out on, how that child is behaving throughout the day, because we know when school's in, parents don't see their kids for
6 to 8 hours.
6 to 8 hours a day. So, the school can really, like the school counselor and his teachers can really be looking, his or her teachers can really be looking for some signs of, like you said, withdrawal. If those grades are slipping, if they're not paying attention in class, or if maybe they are distracted in class.
Let me ask you this question. I want to play a little devil's advocate, because I don't think you did it purposely, but you said his at first, then you tried to say his or her. Do you see where it's more young boys that are usually caught up in these systems or different things that you all deal with when it comes to kids?
When I think about the school system, I mean, we talk about the school to prison pipeline for a reason. As far as like black students are more likely to be suspended, expelled, all of these things for things that their counterparts would do and be forgiven for, So I wouldn't say that it's more so boys and girls. They all face something. It's just different. So for girls, it might be dress code. Y'all are more worried about what we are wearing than what we are learning.
Right. I got that. Yeah. Kind of like over policing sometimes in the schools as well. I never thought about that. Because I guess I'm a guy, I only think about it like, because I know we are usually looked at as the more aggressive. So if Mike is mad and Toya is mad at the same time, Mike is the more of a threat because I'm more aggressive. I'm a guy. Da 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 da. And so I want to know, like, is that something like? Have you ever come across a student that was maybe? So let me ask this first. Are you the ones that kind of say what a child is, like what mental ailment they have, or they already have that when you meet the child?
It depends.
Also, sometimes you diagnose them.
Sometimes I diagnose, and sometimes they come to us with an already.
Have you met a kid and you saw their diagnosis and it was maybe more, like the diagnosis was more harsh than what it probably? Okay, that's the point I'm trying to. Do you see that a lot in the school system?
I don't see it a lot, but
you have seen.
I have seen it. Okay, yeah, I have seen. I've seen kids who I felt like was on way too many medications for the diagnosis that they have.
Because that can mess up somebody's brain even more. Okay, yeah.
Or, just have those reactions to where maybe the medicine that they need isn't working as well. Or when you're on medicine that you don't need, that can cause the kid to act out.
Oh, yeah, that's real.
Other ways.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, I have seen it. I have seen it. And so that's one of the things why we went into the community, is because parents usually don't know where to turn, especially if you have a child who's constantly getting in trouble,
right?
A child who's the parent is constantly being called. They don't know, and then when they go into those IEP meetings, they don't know what to ask. They don't know how to help their child. So that was one of the things why we.
So you kind of like, you work as a representative, like almost like a lawyer,
like an advocate, right?
Yeah,
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
like a lobbyist or something.
Yeah, we'll go into the meetings with the parents, and if something don't seem right or it's something that we think the child needs, we'll let the school know, like, this is what that child needs. A lot of parents didn't know that their child can get an IEP Or there's another one called a 504 plan that's not as intensive as an IEP. So a 504 plan would be something like what I said, where they could get extra time on tests. They don't have to modify anything. So like an IEP could be, you only have to do the even numbers.
Okay.
The 504 is not like that. The 504 says, hey, they can learn the same way as the other children. They may just need extra time.
Okay. And that's all under like learning disabilities, or they're just emotional, like
So yeah, other emotional impairment.
they could do that too. They can apply for the same thing. So
Yeah,
it doesn't
wouldn't fall under a learning disability.
Right.
It wouldn't fall under like a IQ issue. It would just fall under
Strictly
other
how they.
emotional.
I didn't know that you can. I didn't know that they would allow kids to be able to get like benefits on, not benefits, Lord Jesus, but like parameters on special parameters for when they need to take tests or how they learn. I didn't know, just based off emotional.
And it's not the course of the child's school. Like, it's not just like if you get diagnosed in 3rd grade, that doesn't follow you to the 12th grade. You have to continuously test.
Oh,
so you get test out of that. So if you test and they're like, everything looks good, you don't need a 504 or an IEP anymore. So that's one of the things that a lot of parents don't know.
I never knew that. That's something to know going into having a child, for sure. Andrea,
Yes.
what goes into suicide prevention? What really goes into suicide prevention?
Well, I think a lot of people want to know why people do it, right? So they're trying to get a better understanding of stressors, better interventions, ways that people can get, more involved. What I've done, at least on the military side, we have fatality review boards. So after someone passes, we sit down and talk about what did we miss so that we can avoid something like that happening again. So it's really about kind of understanding where they provided that help that they needed, were there signs that we missed. So really trying to educate the people in the leadership about, okay, these are what we need to be looking for, what we need to be aware of. I know that suicide prevention, we have trainings annually, as well as sometimes more than that, depending on what's going on, providing, interventions after a suicide to the units and things like that, so people have support, because obviously suicide doesn't just affect that person's family, it affects the people he worked with, friends, things like that. So really just getting into understanding, I guess people want to know what was kind of like that final straw. So making sure that we are providing preventative things up front. I know that oftentimes people will talk about that, we talk about mental health all the time. We, make sure that soldiers have time to take off and go see someone, things like that. But like we talked about, stigma is still a thing, and especially when we're talking about sports. So we're talking about the military we're talking about things where people feel like, well, if I tell them something's wrong, then they're not going to let me do my job. They're not going to let me deploy. They're not going to trust me. They're not going to. So there's all these belief systems about what is going to happen to their career, what is going to happen to them. And I'm assuming with, the military, that's probably the same way people feel about sports. You know what I'm saying? So people, because it's still so stigmatized, don't want other people to think something's wrong with them, and that something wrong can impact them from doing something they really want to do. And so it's really about a culture. What is the culture that we're setting for people being able to get help?
Making it more, not sexy,
normal.
But yeah, I was gonna say sexy, like make you want to, make you want to come.
People don't want to feel like they're getting penalized for getting that help.
Yeah, okay. I had a friend when I was young that killed himself, hung himself, and I think before they said before he did, he told his parents he was gonna do it. But when people say things like that, we don't always take them seriously. But like ever since that I kind of heard that, I was just like, anytime my friends say anything like that, I just be like, no, chill out. Like, don't even if they playing, like totally playing, like I would still just like, don't say that, because I think if you say that in your mind enough, if something just makes you sad enough, or Lord forbid something happens that come and shake your world up, you might really do it. I try to tell myself, I used to say, I'd never kill myself, but I've never, thankfully, feel like I've never come across anything in my life that made me feel as though I had nothing else to live for or look forward to Like I've always had hope. I've always, even if I was down in the dirt, nothing going on. Like even when you felt like I was going through that depression, it's like I've always had some sort of something to cling to.
Where do you think you got that from?
My upbringing. I think my parents they weren't perfect at all, but I think they did a damn good job. And not saying because I don't think I'm just a poster child of what you should be when you get older and things like that.
I grew up with your folks too.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying so like, but they were, my people were well intended. Like anything they did, it was with good intentions. They had a belief system, whatever it was. They had a belief system. They had merits. So they taught me that.
You had support.
Definitely easy, got support. Like they still try to support me to this day, even when I cut them off in school on my own. Like folks, like why would you do that? And I honestly tell people I did that just for a little while, just to see if I can make it on my own. Because and I know this is a sad thing to think about, but I've always thought about it as I've gotten older and realized like one day I'm gonna have to live life without them. Yeah, so it's just like I was just doing this young and dumb social experiment. But
with suicide and suicide prevention, that's one of the things that we ask our clients. We consider those protective factors. So the more protective factors you have, the less, I guess, the percentage of you completing that goes down. The less protective factors you have, the higher the risk.
Right. Because I think.
Do you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
Because I believe it can enter your mind, but like going through with it is another. Even like, because I need some people like I thought about it before. I've had friends that like seriously told me that, and I was like, bro, you ain't got to feel weak for that.
Right.
You know, I don't play about suicide because, like I said, it happened to a friend of mine who was young. I was like, you ain't got to feel weak for that. Like you can't stop what enters your mind. You can kind of only stop what you do about that. But
right, it's not the thought that's wrong.
Right. I think people like if they ever had that weak moment to where like not necessarily this is like I just want to end it, but they were just like what am I here for? Like I don't care about nothing. Like getting in that space, like you just hearing people talk like that sometimes I think it's something that because in the black community, you'll hear people say it in a hip way. They're not going to just say, I want to kill myself. Most of the time it's going to be, man, ain't shit out here for me. You know what I'm saying? They're going to start saying things that make you feel like they have no hope. Like just like everything is just gone from them. So just
like, what am I doing all this
for? You feel me? What am I doing in life? I was supposed to. This ain't even, I don't know. When they get to that point, I kind of like, no, I try to get, but I don't know what to do because I'm not a mental health professional, So I might need to, you know what, we need to take time. I'm going to get that information for you. We're going to put it on the bottom of this episode. But like all of the people that you could think of, black, preferably, businesses or professionals in the mental health field, we're going to actually add that to this episode because I want people to reach out.
And I want people to also understand when you reach out to an outpatient therapist like me or like her, we don't see those extremely mentally, at least I don't know if you do, but we don't see those extremely mentally ill people that a lot of people like schizophrenics.
Right.
Those people, may come a dime a dozen in a private practice. The people that I see are the working well. So those are the people that are healthy, they're working, they're just need somebody to talk to. They need some skills. They need to process. They want to gain a better understanding of why they are the way they are. Dig deep, introspection. So, that's a big difference for me between somebody being hospitalized and doing therapy and coming to see me or my colleague. It's not intimidating. At least it shouldn't be intimidating. If you go to a therapist that you feel like is intimidating, it is nothing wrong with finding another one. It's like going to a doctor. If you don't like that doctor, you go somewhere else.
Yeah, you need to be comfortable because if you're not, I saw an episode of Carmichael Show when the mama was going and like she was in there, but she wasn't giving anything. So it's like it did no good. Like you didn't give anything. I guess that would probably be my problem. I guess not knowing the person should make it easier, but I don't know because I don't trust people.
Well, I think a lot of times what people kind of I guess struggle with when they talk about going to therapy, they're worried about insurance, they're worried about who's going to find out, they're worried about all these different things. But one thing that I really have been working with a lot of my Black female clients is the strong Black woman narrative, things like that. I think, when we go through things, people are like, oh, you come from a generation of women who survived slavery. Oh, we have God. Oh, we have all these things. What do you have to be depressed about? Why are you? And we hold ourselves to the standard that we're not allowed to be depressed. We're not allowed to have these things. And that's something that I want women to work on. I don't want nobody to call me a strong Black woman. Like, no, I be needing help. I want support. Because when people think that, then they're like, oh, we don't have to check on her. We don't have to, help her. She always got it. She always figure it out. Sometimes we don't always want to figure it out by ourselves. We do want help, but sometimes we don't even know how to ask for that help. Right. We've been taught, okay, you either do it or nobody else is going to do it, So there's a lot to work on, I think, in the Black community as far as like the things we've taught ourselves, because we also were, when we came out of all these different hardships, we were told, okay, nobody's going to look out for us. We just have to look out for ourselves. Now there's people like us who want to look out for you.
I think that's another thing too. I think Black people have a hard time just receiving help sometimes. We're too prideful, too proud. We're like, I don't need we could be struggling with whatever it is, and we would be like, nah, I don't need it.
Because historically, we've always had to do it. We've always just had to do it.
Well, we didn't trust the powers that be that were trying to provide whatever resources. But now, like I said, we have people who look like us. What I'm saying, go through the same shit we go through. And that's why I say it's a stressor for me to make. I mean, it's always stress for me when I say Black therapist. Like, even if I were to go, I need a Black man or woman. I don't care. I just know I need them Black. You know what I'm saying? But not all Black people even know. So I would have to still sit down and with them and
it's an interview.
Right? Yeah. The first one definitely.
It's an interview.
Yeah, because I have a friend that you hooked me up with. With him, a therapist, and he said the first time he went, like, she didn't say anything. Like, it was just basically like just her, just listening to him talk. But like, he was like, she didn't say much the first time. He was like, I didn't know what the hell. Yeah. He was like, but now it makes more sense. And I guess it's like working out. If you go work out one time, you'll feel good as soon as you get through working out, but your body gonna revert right back to the same before you. Gotta keep it going.
You're gonna be hurting when you get home. But the more you go, the easier it gets.
Yeah, man. I guess that have made me think a little differently about. I still believe that there are levels, and people in the Black community definitely need to stop caping for people, because just because you have something that's bothering your mental health doesn't mean that you can have what y'all call the emotional regulation. We need emotional regulation for those who can. Like, don't excuse behavior problems with somebody who's really like you said, mentally ill. Like, there's a difference.
People that can't resolve conflict, people that can't communicate effectively, those are all people that can benefit from therapy. People
that's everybody. That's really everybody.
You remember the question you asked?
Oh yeah, did everybody see a therapist? Yeah. I think after this episode, I definitely got me. I'm gonna try to check one out, see what it's talking about.
Question, if y'all don't mind me asking.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Are there enough therapists to go around?
I think it depends on the therapist's caseload. There are plenty of Black therapists, but it depends on where you are, your insurance, different things. But my thing is, as far as therapists go, right, find one that fits you. I mean, regardless of all the other things, find one that fits you. It's worth it. I feel like we go all out. I feel like we go all out for our health, right? So I don't like this doctor, I'm going to go find me another doctor. I don't like this. I'll do the same thing with a therapist. If you feel like you go to a therapist a couple of times and you're not really have that conversation. I always have a conversation with my clients when I first meet them. I'm like, what are your thoughts about therapy? Because sometimes people come to therapy and think, I'm just supposed to bitch at you. You're supposed to make me feel better about it, and I'm supposed to leave.
Right.
Not knowing what they think therapy is, their expectations, and setting realistic expectations for therapy can change the whole narrative of what therapy is to them. They think it's supposed to make them feel good all the time. Therapy don't make you feel good. You digging up shit that you done pushed down for 20 years. Therapy is not going to make you feel good initially. But seeing those changes in your life, being able to make those connections and really resolve the things that you set goals to work on, that's what makes therapy worth it. I think a lot of times people are looking for that feel-good therapy. That quick fix. And sometimes I've had people who've been in therapy for years. I've had people who've been in therapy 6 months. They were like, I came to work on this. I worked on this. I feel like I'm good with it. It's, I think a lot of times people are like, well, I've been talking about it for 3 months. If it didn't fix, it's not. You have to think about all those defense mechanisms you put up to make yourself be able to function daily with that trauma. You have to unlearn things, undo things. You might have to cut people out of your life. There's a lot of things people are like, I'm scared to have to do that work. And sometimes they don't want to do that work. And that's what it needs.
The work comes after that hour. A lot of people don't realize therapy doesn't just stop after that hour. Like, you have to go home and do the work. And I think that's a misconception of therapy, is that you're just going to, talk to somebody for an hour and then boom, you're good.
I think I've heard some people like, therapy ain't gonna do nothing because all I'm gonna do is go in there and ain't gonna just listen to me and they ain't gonna really help me with nothing. Like, I've heard people think like that's all they getting is going to talk to somebody for an hour, and then they're like, I can just go.
And that may have been their experience, but that's not everybody's experience. Because I give my clients homework, I give them readings, and then we come back and we talk about it. So yeah, and I tell my clients up front, if you're not willing to do the work when you leave my office, this may not be a good fit for you. Because there are therapists that'll talk to you for an hour and let you go on about your day.
It is. Next time they just catching back up.
Yeah. Right. So, and then, with that being said too, I've seen white therapists myself. I've actually had better experiences with white therapists. Just personally, because the one black therapist that I went to, it got to a point where she was like my homegirl. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she
unprofessional as that.
Yeah, like it became like a friendship. And so
is, because I remember one time I came and asked you, like, could you be my therapist? And you were like, no, Mike, I've known you since you was a little boy. And we talked about certain stuff. She was just like, we can't because we're too close. I didn't understand.
Conflict of interest.
But so is there a belief that you feel like maybe if you're close with somebody, you wouldn't do the job as well because of how close you are? You might not tell them something. Like, I don't.
It's like being too close to someone in a sense. Like, could you be able to do therapy with your mom? No. Why?
Oh,
because you're
I
invested.
wouldn't. Oh, yes. Because me being able to relinquish her. But that's what I think. I think for me, I would find it easier for someone I know and I trusted than I would somebody I didn't know. But I haven't tried it at all, so who's to say?
And for me, I can't be your friend and your therapist. Like, you have to choose which one you want.
You gonna put on? Yeah.
So you want to throw away the friendship to get that therapy, though?
Nah.
That ain't even an option.
One more thing, y'all made me think about this. So